talking about them Georgia peaches. We got my man Anthony David featuring Slick, y'all. This one for the ladies. If you like it, I love it. Holla, y'all.
This one's for the hometown. Talking about my Auburn Avenue angel. Walking down Peachtree, spot a swat sugar. Talking about my sweet Vidalia onion from the country. Home cooking, eating thick sister. If you never cruise through the AUC on a hot summer day, then you're missing out, mister. Better watch your mouth when you're talking about them Georgia girls. Before you catch one dead in the kisser. I'm telling you, ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama border to Savannah Beach. Even if you wish you walk down the Southern Street, I bet you sure enough fall. I bet you sure enough fall. There ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama border to Savannah Beach. Even if you wish you talk that country speech, I bet you sure enough fall in love.
I want a Bean Hill shout, a Bang Hill shout, a ATL shout. It make me feel kinda naughty. Shake up from the trees and little fall from the sky. Oh, I love them Georgia peaches to the day they die. I like them Bean Hill bread, cornbread beef, thick lip, thick thighs, hairy leg. She got to make me holler every time she walk. Speak game and hit licks and have the sexy talk.
Ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama eyes can see.
We're a little different down here. I like them big and juicy. I bet you call it a little sweet. You know what I'm saying? Boy, east side, west side, north side, south side. Yo, Tony, tell me how you like it. You know what I'm saying?
Good evening and welcome to another episode of Synamon Says. I'd like to welcome all of you online. I understand from my producer that you guys are jumping on before we even got started, and that's a good thing. Tonight we have as our guest Michael Hightower. Welcome, Michael.
Glad to be here.
I asked Michael to come and join us tonight because most of you, particularly those of you who are in Clayton County, and I do realize that there are folks on who are from New York, Michigan, hello in Detroit to my grandson, but tonight we want to talk about Clayton County, and we want to talk about the positives of Clayton County because those places that I just mentioned, New York, Michigan, and Detroit, people get negative information about Clayton County. So tonight, Michael, I want you to, share some good stuff with us and some real stuff too. We won't sugarcoat everything because we do know we have issues like every other county, like every other city. It's just that we need to deal with them and we need to understand them. And that's one of the reasons why I asked you to come. As far as I'm concerned, you're the best person to tell us about Clayton County right now because you know the landscape through your business, which you'll share with us. You've had an opportunity to interact not only with the citizens, with the those at the political level, at the county level, all of that. So you can give us a lot of good information that would be helpful to help us to improve and maintain the quality of life that we seek here in Clayton County. And to promote that more than anything.
I would first thank you for allowing me to join you on Synamon Says. I think this is, quite frankly, one of the best avenues to connect with everyday citizens, everyday people, and people from throughout the country and the world. So let me just commend you and say thank you for allowing me to be here.
Thank you.
And yes, Clayton County is a great place. I think if we look at its rich history, its location, and the fact that it is in the middle of one of the fastest growing metro areas in the country. So I think there's a lot to offer here in Clayton County, be it from its university to its public schools to its rich transportation infrastructure, and of course in the fact that so many people pass through this county each and every day as well as live here.
Location, that's very important. We're near the airport. And everybody knows that in terms of business and all of that, the airport is a major mode of transportation for business, even for pleasure. And so that puts us in a situation where we're ideally located to attract not only people coming through in terms of living here, but those who are coming through to conduct their business I think Clayton County has a lot to offer, but then again, we don't hear about all that kind of stuff.
Well, I think one of the things about Clayton, I think that we all know is that you mentioned the airport. I think this airport is one of the busiest, and most days it's the busiest in the world.
Okay.
And one of the things that we see in Clayton's future is a large discussion about what happens in the northern part of the county, in and around Commissioner Gary Hamblick's district up in the northern part of the county. And as we see a rebound in our economy, both locally here in the county, but also throughout the region, I predict that part of the county will be one of the most sought after pieces of real estate in Georgia and in the Southeast. Number one, I think Hartsfield now, as you know, has opened up a variety of lines with international travel.
Right.
Be it Delta, Coca-Cola. Throughout this challenging economy, many of our Fortune 500 local companies have relied heavily upon the growth in Asia and in the Mideast. And so I predict Clayton County to be a hub for new international growth equally as well.
And that's, you can see right now the international diversity that exists in Clayton County, and I can see where that pull would come from. And
I think again, transportation. I mean, there are very few places that intersect with as many interstates as Clayton County government. And again, I think with Hartsfield, with intermodal activity in terms of train and rail and cargo, many times we forget cargo, and cargo sometimes is not the most beautiful attraction, but is also a tool by which goods are transported throughout the country.
Right.
We don't have a coast here in Clayton County or in Atlanta, but we have the airport, and they have the intermodal activity that joins with the airport, and that's another aspect that we have in Clayton that can really be one of our future opportunities.
Didn't know that. Thank you. I didn't know that. Now, I moved here from Atlanta. I'm actually from Detroit, but lived in Atlanta. You know what? I tell people I'm from Detroit, but I feel like I'm a Georgia peach.
Oh, you're one of us now.
I know, because guess what? I spent more time here than I did in Detroit. I left when I was 21 years old. I won't tell you how old I am now, but
I saw those peaches in your purse, so you're a Georgia peach. You got some peaches in your purse.
That's right.
And peanuts on top of that.
Well, the thing is, I see that Clayton County has a lot of room for growth, even though people don't want to believe that. They're afraid of the congestion and all of that. But if it's managed properly, it could be a good thing. I think in terms of like the Atlantic Station, we can have that in Clayton County.
I agree. And I'm glad you mentioned that, Sam, because our firm, the collaborative firm, is you. And I want to thank you because during the past 18 months or so, as our firm, in conjunction with the Clayton County government and the citizens, we've made new changes with the zoning ordinance and new overlay districts, and our firm, working in partnership with you and your colleagues, made it happen. But I think as we went through that process, we've identified places for appropriate growth, places for mixed-use growth, places for higher density, but also places that we need to maintain this rural character. So growth can occur in strategic locations, as we have identified through the comprehensive plan, and of course, it can be maintained through the new zoning ordinance.
Okay. Talking about the ordinance, your company was responsible for doing the rewrite of the ordinance. Have you gotten feedback since you've done that? And if so, tell us just what kind of feedback have you gotten? And
I want to first say, I think, by way of background, the zoning ordinance is the document that really guides the standards and the process by which houses are built, companies can relocate, and the standards by which they have to maintain to have quality living in this county. We have received feedback, and I must say initially there was some concern by some of the developers, like, oh my God, is this too tight for us? Is it too stringent? And quite frankly, we feel very comfortable in saying that because we want the highest level of standards, this is okay. So initially there was some adjustments. It's like if you have a new set of rules, you got like, it's a little tight. But I think by and large, people have come to see that, yes, this is a good thing, because we expect a higher quality of living in this county. And I think secondly, it's going to make sure that we go from where we were to where we need to be in the future. You've already noted about the importance of the future of this great county. Having tools like a new zoning ordinance, a new comprehensive plan, new rules for builders, new rules for citizens, and new rules for schools. Because I think the more we can enhance our standing, the better community we all have.
Right, and it's called growth. You know, we don't want to be stagnated. We want to grow.
It's growth, but it's also adding on another level of quality.
Quality growth.
Quality growth.
Quality growth, right. Absolutely. Well, let me ask you this, changing subjects. I want to talk about local government because, as I said before, you've had, you know, the opportunity to interact with the citizens as well as local government. And we're going through some changes, and I'd like to hear your, you know, what's your take on the local government, where we are right now? And
certainly. Well, I mean, let me first say, as my first elected office when I was in public life was on the city council in College Park, Georgia.
Right.
And in that, and of course, College Park, a portion of College Park is in Clayton County, and that was in 1979. I'm kind of old now. I'm getting in age, but throughout that process, we have seen the change in demographics in South Metro and Clayton and Henry and Fayette, and I think what we have seen over time is an evolution of new leaders. And I think Clayton County.
Let me interrupt you. You have a question from the audience.
I'm
and
ready.
We'd like to
I
take
am ready.
Okay, we've got a viewer who would like to know, how has the high foreclosure rate of homes in the county impacted the assessment of the zoning ordinances?
Great question. How is the foreclosure rate? Let me first say the zoning ordinance, and quite frankly, and thanks to the caller for the question, the zoning ordinance is a tool to maintain quality standards for development and maintenance of communities. And hopefully what happens in any community, in Clayton to be exact, is the fact that this process of the zoning ordinance will maintain the standards even if properties, for example, by way of disclosure, become vacant. So the county will still have to, number one, maintain code enforcement, maintain cleanliness, maintain the standards by which development is done. So the good thing about it, about the zoning ordinance, is that it's a tool to make sure that if we have abandoned or vacant properties by way of foreclosure, that the county can maintain the highest level of standards as it relates to new construction and new development.
Okay. Now, we interrupted you for that.
No
but
problem.
if you
Leadership, and I think what we're seeing in Clayton, of course, I think is evolution and growth. I think, quite frankly, I think it's okay to differ. It's okay to have different views of opinion, and it's okay, and it's very healthy in a democracy. And what we have seen, and I think we've seen that with the school board, with the county commission, with the state legislatures, because Clayton has changed. It's changed and it's growing, and with this history, I think it's a new Clayton County that represents new views and new perspectives. So I think that's a healthy aspect that we must deal with.
Okay. I have another question from the audience. I want you to look in this camera.
Yes, we do.
To look over
A viewer would like to know if Mr. Hightower has information about the Chief of Staff position that was held by Alex Cohillis and why that position was created.
Well, although I'm not with the county government, obviously we have worked with the county and the county commission. I think members of the board, a majority of those board members voted to establish a position that would serve, I think, in essence, as a chief operations person for all of the various departments. And it is my understanding that position was created for that purpose. And I do believe, as of yesterday, there has been some action by the courts that has essentially struck down that position as it relates to how it was established by the Board of Commissioners.
You know, it's interesting that our callers are asking you those kinds of questions, because those are the kind of questions that we get through Clayton County wide. They want to ask us, and we don't know, and that's why we call on people in the community to respond.
Well, maybe, Senator, let me, if I may, I think the other question that was not raised, which maybe is a part B to that question, is about forms of government. Clayton County is roughly 300,000 people, and a county that size historically perhaps did not require a regular manager of operations to run the county. As a commission for Fulton County for 16 years, we had a county manager who ran the county on a day-to-day basis, a professional public manager who ran everything from finance to public works. And so I think the question at hand is that having the appropriate tool by way of a county, in this case the chief of staff or whatever it's called, In some cases, in the past, it's been called an administrative assistant. But every county, especially a county of Clayton's size and of its complexity, needs to have someone to run the government.
Right, and I think that this is Synamon. Synamon says, okay, y'all don't. This is Synamon says. I believe that the reason for having a chief of staff was really based on what came out of the department heads and what came from employees. And the reason why I say that is because I got a lot of those phone calls where people would call us wanting to know why is it that we don't have any leadership in local and county government. And as a result of that, I believe that was the impetus behind it. But having said that, and now that we've gotten through the legal hurdle and all of that, what I'd like to know is what is that going to take us back to?
Well, I think that's a very good question. Let me also back up and just by way of explanation. In any government, you have the legislative branch and the executive branch, and sometimes they mesh. Some examples in the region: DeKalb County has a chief executive form of government, but they have also a full-time person in Keith Walker, who is the executive assistant who is responsible for day-to-day.
Okay.
And in Gwinnett County, we have a process of a county administrator who has similar responsibilities. In Fulton County, as I've already noted, there's a county manager who he's in charge of all day-to-day and a part-time chairman. And I think what's going to happen in Clayton at some point, maybe at some point down the road, there will probably be some need to tweak the legislation by the General Assembly members that deal with how Clayton County is governed by its elected officials. And that's not unusual. It happens with any government. When I was a commissioner in Fulton, we went from a county chairman who was elected from amongst the board to elected by the people. Gwinnett County, DeKalb County has had different legislative measures to change that government. So I think as times change and as growth occurs, we need to look at and examine the forms of government.
And education, civic literacy. People need to understand just what you're talking about, the forms of government and how government actually works.
Exactly. And to your point, the Atlanta City Council. You're from the big city. They had a council that was composed of 18 council members and a council president years ago. Now they're down to 15, plus Ms. Boyle. So, and that changed through state legislation. So I think Clayton is growing and changing. And I think what will probably happen at some juncture is a process to look at governance. And that's a very appropriate thing to do. What should the government structure be in a government? And I think that happens in any government, and I think it's tweaking for the future.
Right. And I also get calls regarding, particularly this past week, regarding the National Conference of Counties. And Michael, I'm bringing up things like this because I want you to dispel of some of this ignorance. A person called me to say, why is Clayton County government, well, let me be specific. Why are the commissioners going to Washington, D.C. when they've frozen hiring and they've cut this and they've cut that and all this kind of stuff? I'm thinking to myself, well, common sense would tell anyone that we have to be in the place, we have to be at the table. So, and in being at the table, were these people expected to take the money out of their pockets to pay to go and serve us?
And I think that's a very good question. Let me first say, just by way of background, the organization is called the National Association of Counties. Okay. It's a 3,000 county organization which represents all of the counties in America. And it represents small counties, rural counties, large counties, ranging from the largest county in America is LA County in Los Angeles, which has over 8 million people, to some of the smallest counties in rural parts of this country. So it's very, very important today that public elected officials attend that major conference. If there's ever a time in our history with the changes in government, with the changes in our economic stimulus plan, with the changes with the issues of foreclosure, the issues that were discussed this past week, and I happened to be there. Oh, good. Because I used to be there. As I said, I had the honor of serving as national president of the group back in the late 90s.
I remember that.
And that organization advocates for counties. It was also important, and this week alone, for example, Congress is talking about a spending plan, almost $500 billion this week in Washington. And this year also is the first year we have, of course, a new president who is presiding over our country. So it's almost a mandate that you attend to your county citizens.
Right.
And secondly, the percentage of the budget is a very minuscule amount based upon the return that they bring to the county.
Yes.
But I think it's a way of explaining the organization, determining the value, and making sure that citizens understand the why and why government and how government works. The meeting with the members of Congress, the discussion with other counties, and also bringing back best practices.
Best practices, that's the key. You know, I just 2 weeks ago, I put in the call to, he's no longer my commissioner, but he was my commissioner, Wale Ralph. Commissioner Sona Singleton is now, because I bought a house tomorrow, so she's my commissioner. But I saw where the mayor of Atlanta was going to Washington, D.C., and I think they had the mayors of come in. And I called him, and I said, you know what, I don't understand. Who represents us, since we're not a city? Who goes and lobbies for our concerns and to bring money into the county? And at the time, he referred to several different things, but the one thing that he didn't mention to me was the National Conference of, how do you say it?
National Association of Counties.
National Association of Counties. And so is that where we get,
Yes.
Is that where our input
That is correct.
And that's how we bring money into this?
That is correct. And NACO, the National Association of Counties, is the county's vehicle throughout America, just as with Mayor Franklin with the U.S. Conference of Mayors. Clayton County has a large unincorporated population, so therefore your commissions that's your government.
That's our government.
And that government has to be involved in issues at the local, state, and federal level.
Right. But more than anything, the citizens of this county have to be involved as well. I would say this to you all because we say it all the time, and we say it, but some people don't seem to get it, and I'll keep saying it until it's done. You have to go to the commission meetings. You have to go to the Board of Education meetings. You have to get involved and be proactive in our government. You have to educate yourself. You have to get and all these you have tos. But these are musts. These are things that we have to do in order to create a sense of community, in order to be able to understand the quality growth that you talk about, to be able to understand the questions that were even asked tonight, that were posed about the position. We should know these things, but it's incumbent upon us to be proactive and get involved in our community.
I totally agree. And I think involved citizens make for a better government.
Yes.
Make for a more accountable government, and make for a more improved government.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I was going to add, one of the things I brought tonight is, you have one already, is a sample of our most recent conference that we held in Clayton County. As a matter of fact, this is the South Metro Development Conference, and historically it's held over in College Park. But I said this year, let's carry it to Clayton County. And we were so proud that we had over 500 people attend at Clayton State University talking about some of the big issues of the region. And Clayton State was a dynamic venue to host it. And the first time at Clayton State, but we're going to come back again.
Well, we got another question for you.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, online audience. I'm very proud of you this evening.
Another question about the Chief of Staff. According to Commissioner Bell, the Chief of Staff was taking over his duties as entrusted to him by the General Assembly. If this is true, is there a need for the Chief of Staff position? If so, then how does that mean Commissioner Bell is essentially not doing the job we elected him to do? What does that mean that Commissioner Bell is essentially not doing the job that we elected him to do?
I think that's a very good question, and I think it goes back to the point that Synamon and I were talking about 5 minutes ago. So I think the board's intent, as my understanding, and obviously there was some difference on the board for the need for that position. But I think that's what a democratic dialogue is all about.
Right,
absolutely. And as a result of the dialogue, the board voted to place that position before the commission for approval. Let me back up and say, as I said a few minutes ago, in any government you have different aspects of the government. Chairman Bell is the elected countywide chairman. But then we have 4 other commissioners who are elected from different districts. I don't want to suppose that the notion by creating the Chief of Staff was to suggest that Chairman Bill is not doing his job. I think he's doing a great job. I think so are the other commissioners. I think the question then becomes, what's the most effective way to deliver services to the taxpayers?
Right.
And I think that's where the dialogue on the board went. I think that was their reason for selecting the chief of staff. Chairman Bill also has led the county equally as well. But I think the debate amongst the commission was the most effective way to have citizens to have assistance to get everyday services, and also to look at the future vision and the management of the various department heads in the county.
Michael, thank you, because see, the way you've laid it out to us, it's clear that all this stuff about dissension and anger and what is it? What do you call it when you try to get somebody back? Revenge. That's not what's stimulated this. This whole process or this change that they made for chief of staff.
Exactly. And I would also add, Sam, I know we have another caller waiting. I would also add that Chairman Bill and Vice Chairman Ralph, they have dialogue, open dialogue about it. And I think we have to understand that it's okay to differ and disagree.
Of course.
It's okay to have dialogue.
Right, of course. Okay, and that's the main thing. It's okay to do that. And I get so confused when I get to this point.
Well, I know we're about to that, but one thing you talked about was about some of the great things that are happening in Clayton County.
Yes.
At this conference that I mentioned a few minutes ago, we gave out 4 awards this year. And of the 4 awards, 2 of them came to Clayton County.
Okay.
One went to Clayton State University because, as we all know, Clayton State has expanded and been a catalyst for new growth and development. And the other award went to the city of Riverdale.
Oh, okay.
They were an LCI city, a city that received a Livable Service Initiative grant, and they flipped that to be a whole host of new growth and development.
Oh, right.
And our firm, the collateral firm, had a chance to, we were the prime contractor for that when they first got started. But beyond that, Mayor Dixon and the council members, Councilmember Ruffin helped kick off this process years ago. And I think that's a classic example of great things happening in Clayton
County. All right. Well, now I want to thank you. I want to thank the collaborative firm for being a part of our growth here and giving us the guidance that we need, but more importantly, thanking you for being here tonight. I don't want you to leave. I got to make a few announcements, and then we'll be winding up. Okay? All right, everybody. Next Friday, as a matter of fact, on our show, we have J. Tom Morgan. J. Tom Morgan is a former attorney of DeKalb County, DA, District Attorney. Of DeKalb County, and he's also the author of Ignorance is No Defense, a guide for teenagers and the law. This is so extremely important because what we find here in Clayton County is our children are ending up in finding themselves in a public safety in a court situation because they don't know the law. Simple as that. What may start out, if they get stopped for a misdemeanor, could end up as a felony if they don't know the law. So Jay Tom is going to come and join us and share that information with us. And we are going to be doing there'll be a seminar for 100 boys in Clayton County to meet with Jay Tom, as well as there's a young man by the name of John House from Morehouse. Who is a recruiter, and he's going to be with us as well. Not to recruit from Morehouse, but that's a good thing. But he'll be with us to share information with our young men on how important it is to go to college. And the college is not something that, as a matter of fact, the way he put it was that it's expected. That's not a big deal. You should be expected to go to college. I think President Obama said it. We need more education. High school is not enough. So be sure to join us for that. Then there's the Clayton County-wide Homeowners Association membership kickoff and focus on homeowners and the housing crisis, which will be Saturday, March the 28th. And I did mention that we need to go to the commission and board meetings. President Obama has an internship program. Go online and refer some young people to that program. We need representation from here in Atlanta. I always talk about jobs. CBSAtlanta.com for job fairs. USAjobs.gov. And my producer is telling me to shut up. So I guess I'll just... Oh, she's not telling me to be quiet. Okay, I got a miscue on that one. I got a couple more things. May 11th. Oh, you got a question? Oh, a comment. I'm sorry, everybody. Forgive me. Okay, comment.
We've got somebody in the audience that would like to know if you would, it says, asking them to announce Tanya, WTNW presents Oneness in Marriage, Free Marriage Fellowship and Workshop, Friday, March 27th at Southside Church of God in Rex, 7 o'clock p.m.
Okay, Tanya, forgive me. Believe it or not, that's on my list. That is, and I'll go ahead and tell everybody since our producer Karen has already made that announcement. But be sure to attend this very important marriage counseling seminar that is every last Friday of the month up until May. And if you want more information, just email me at cinnamon@AOL.com and I'll give you that information. Okay. Thank you, Tanya. Hi, Wayne. Then there's the, this is a good one, y'all. Listen, we always, every time we come together as a group of homeowners, just here in Clayton County citizens, it's always an issue. So this Sunday, we're going to have some fun. We're going to meet at the Holiday Inn on Old Dixie Road in Jonesboro at 1 o'clock to discuss this book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man by Steve Harvey. And it's going to be a fun time. He's a comedian, so you can imagine, not that he's going to be there, but the person who's going to be there is going to have us rolling out the chairs as though he were Steve Harvey. So again, that's this Sunday at 1 o'clock, Holiday Inn. And I have the address if you want a map question. It's 6288 Old Dixie Highway in Jonesboro, Georgia. Andy Lee Productions, next Saturday. Andy Lee Productions presents open mic at the Silver Delight Restaurant, which is in East Point. And I think that's all I got. Is that okay, Karen? All right. I think I've covered everything. I would like to say to you all, thank you again for being here this evening. Thank you to all the questions we received online. And remember, Cinnamon says, what do you say? The music you're listening to is by none other than Anthony David. And I want you to know that you'll be listening to this music for the next month. Okay? You'll get a chance to hear various songs. The one you listen to tonight is called Georgia Peach. You get a chance to run out and get that. Thank you. I think so.
Makes it open. You got
Talking
it.
about them Georgia peaches. We got my man Anthony David featuring Slick, y'all. This one for the ladies. If you like it, I love it. Holla, y'all.
This one's for the hometown. Talking about my Auburn Avenue angel. Walking down Peachtree, spot a swat sugar. Talking about my sweet Vidalia onion from the country. Home cooking, eating thick sister. If you never cruise through the AUC on a hot summer day, then you're missing out, mister. Better watch your mouth when you're talking about them Georgia girls. Where you catch one dead in the kisser. I'm telling you, ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama border to Savannah Beach. Either nigga when she walk down the Southern Street. I bet you sure enough fall, bet you sure enough fall. There ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama border to Savannah Beach. You better go when she talk that country speech. I bet you sure enough fall in love.
I want a bean heel shout, a bang heel shout, a ATL shout, it make me feel kinda naughty. Shake up from the trees and little foam in the sky. Oh, I love them Georgia peaches till the day they die. I like them bean heel breed, cornbread feed, thick lip, thick thighs, hairy leg. She got to make me holler every time she walk. Speak game and hit licks and had a sexy talk.
Ain't no woman like a Georgia peach. From the Alabama
eyes can see.
Savannah Beach. If you ain't the way
We're
she
a little
walk
different
down
down
the
here.
Southern Street.
I like them big and juicy. I bet you all know it's me. You know what I'm saying?
Like a Georgia peach.
More,
From the Alabama border to
east side, west side, north side, south side. Yo, Tony, tell me how you like, you know what I'm saying?
Talking about my mama, my my sister, my granny, my cousin. She adds a touch of class to every